Okay, this week we're talking about England and its growing colonies, and really their attempt to sort of govern these new colonies. We need to kind of rewind a little bit to 1607 when the colonies are first created and started in Jamestown. At that point, the colonists were very reliant on England for supplies, for help financially, and they only survived basically because England helped them so much. But as time went on, these colonies became more successful, more independent. They didn't need the British as much as they needed them in the beginning. And so many of these settlers start to again feel a little bit more independent. Also, as these colonists, live 50 more years, a lot of them are dying. A lot of them are at the end of their lives, don't have as much influence as they once had. And instead of them, it's their children and their grandchildren who are becoming the new leaders of the colonies. Well, most of them have no real connection to England except that their ancestry is from there. Most of them have never been to England. Most of them see themselves as Americans and have really no loyalty to England. Now, what really fuels a lot of the growth in the colonies, the economic growth there, is the triangular trade system. It's the system that sends slaves from Africa to the Caribbean or the southeast United States or colonies at this point. And in these, what the slaves do is they work on plantations, harvesting things like sugarcane, tobacco, and so on. That sugarcane is then sent up to New England, where they turn it into rum, and then from that point, the rum is sent to Europe. That money that people purchase the rum is used to buy more slaves. Those slaves are sent to the West Indies. They make rum, goes to England, and this system basically feeds itself and allows the colonies to grow significantly economically. Now, excuse me, England at this point is becoming a little bit more angry. And this is 50 years later, and they see their colonies becoming more independent and less reliant on them. And they also see them becoming more powerful economically. They want to see and make sure that the colonies are paying their fair share in taxes and making sure that that England is profiting from these colonies. And so they create the Navigation Acts, and these acts are just basically more taxes and more rules. It basically said that all goods that were shipped out of the colonies had to be on British ships, had to go through British ports to pay taxes there. If you were going to send goods to any other country than England, you had to pay a higher tax. And so it just creates all these new rules and taxes that really anger the colonists. And so instead of following these rules, the colonists just try to find ways to get around them. And although navigation acts were successful in many ways for raising money through taxes, it wasn't nearly as successful as they were hoping. The colonists smuggled goods in and out of the colonies to avoid paying taxes. Pirates were used to do this, and again, the colonists were easily able to get around this rule and still maintain their independence in a lot of ways. So that's one thing that we talked about. Now we're going to talk about a kind of another way that England was trying to sort of increase its power over the colonies. This map here is obviously a terrible map, but you can see that the area of land from basically Maine down through Connecticut and then later New York and New Jersey, this all became part of an area of land known as the Dominion of New England. And this was just an area of land taken over by the British Crown, and they created these new rules and laws that governed this area. And it was under British control for about 3 years, from 1585 or 1685 to 1688. These guys are the ones that really ran it. King James II on the left, it was his idea, and he put Edmund Andros, the guy on the right there, in control of the Dominion of New England. So Sir Edmund Andros was the governor there, and no one really liked him. He was mean. He shut down governments there. He told people when they could go to church, where they could go to church, what they could do, what they could sell, what they could not sell, and it was just basically an all-around jerk. So no one really liked him, obviously, in America. Now that system is in place, the Dominion of New England, but then King James kind of shoots himself in the foot a little bit. He marries his second wife, Mary of Modena, who is from Spain and is Catholic. Now that wouldn't seem like a big deal today, but during this time that was a huge no-no. Being from Spain, England and Spain were enemies, so that was seen as one strike, and the other strike was that she was Catholic. And then when they were going to have a son, this created an enormous problem because England is very Protestant. The Church of England is the official religion in England, and they don't like the Catholics, and so they were worried that this new son of King James would become the heir to the throne of England. And the last thing the English wanted was a Catholic king. And so it ushers in a new era. These guys here, these lovebirds, you have his daughter Mary there and her husband William. They become the new king and queen of England in the glorious revolution of 1688. Okay, this ushers in, like I said, a new time period. It gets rid of King James II. He leaves. No one's killed, but he agrees to leave, and these two take over. They end the dominion of New England. Also, this leads to removing Edmund Andros from power. They reestablish the English Bill of Rights to all British subjects, which means things like freedom of speech, the right to vote, and elect your government. And then the king and queen agree to share power with Parliament, which is like the British Congress. It's just lawmakers, but they agree to share power with them. And so, like I said, this all is part of a larger theme that we're going to be talking about really for the next few months, is this idea of independence starting small. The Navigation Acts, the Dominion of New England, the Revolution that we just talked about, all of those things are like seeds in the ground. And it takes a while for those seeds to grow into something. And what they eventually grow into is the revolution, the American Revolution that leads to American independence. Okay, these settlers are growing more and more self-reliant, less independent on the British, and like I said, this eventually leads to the revolution we'll talk about in the coming weeks. All right, if you have any questions, make sure you're asking in class, or you tweet me or email, whatever you need. Please let me know. Good luck and